Guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I think we're already rolling. We've been talking about some comedians and some funny stuff and some guys that are getting in trouble for the great comeback. The great comeback
will probably happen.
Yeah.
To that guy.
And I don't know if where we're gonna start it, but I was talking about how everybody's shit stinks. It's true. Gunner.
Especially
we have Gunner
Gunners.
here. We have a special
Jesus
guest
Christ
today.
Almighty.
Gunner, who's our new dog. And those of you that are listening can't see, but he's literally laying here on the floor.
He's so precious.
But he's sleeping right now. Don't get him all riled up. But those of you watching, you can see he's laying here on the floor with us, and he's our new dog, and he's amazing. He's a Belgian Malinois. He's 6 years old, and he is absolutely...
No, 6 months.
Or sorry,
he's
what did I say?
Years.
6 years. He's 6 months old. He's a baby. If you know anything about Belgian Malinois, they are... what's the politically...
pain in the ass.
He's a pain in the ass. Well, no, you said he's like a T-Rex or he's
no, they are velociraptors.
Yeah, because he is
literally...
one
of our Instagram.
He's too smart for his own good. Like, he'll literally look at you and he's like, no, dude, I'm not doing what you're telling me to do. But then you pull treats out and you coax him into it, and he's your best friend.
Yeah.
He's great.
He is definitely a companion dog, protector, military dog. He does not want to stay at home in his kennel.
Yeah. Most police dogs now and military dogs are Belgian Malinois, and he's got a phenomenal line.
Yes.
We got him from a really, really, really good person, and he was not cheap. But he spent some time with a trainer, and now he's back with us, and he's gonna be our sidekick. And I'm just hoping that he doesn't get up and run out of here and knock over microphones and cameras and stuff.
Would you do that?
We'll see.
Well, we're talking today about victimization, and since he's been shitting in the crate for like ever since we got him back from training, like I've had moments where I felt very victimized.
You felt like a victim?
I felt like a fucking victim.
Gunner, God damn it! You're supposed to lick my face, not make me feel like I'm a piece of shit.
I can't leave to go to the gym without being victimized with dog shit. Literally. Every time we leave. Yeah. But it's okay.
He's learning. He's getting there. Babe, guys, we have had tons of feedback, and we continue to love it. And this continues to be a work in progress for us on the show. Like, how do we want to do it? What do we want to do? What do we want to talk about? Your guys' feedback has been phenomenal and amazing, and we get so many messages every single week. And we spend time like talking about like, what do we want to talk about? How do we want to talk about this? And it always boils down to us in real life and like what we're living in, what we've experienced, what has helped us build our relationship, what we see, not only in our business and coaching and clients and stuff like that, but you already let the cat out of the bag what we're talking about today, babe. About being a victim. Yeah. About being a victim. What does being a victim mean to you?
Being a victim.
I should look it up, the definition.
Yeah, it comes up. Well, it's come up a lot in my life. Comes up a lot in my coaching, where people are a victim to their circumstances, or they're a victim to their spouse, or a victim to, I mean, you can take any area of life, if it's business, personal, whatever, and all these things are happening to them. And there's this lack of accountability of choice. People they're not realizing that they have a choice in the matter. I'm going to tell a story, because we all love stories.
Before you tell your story, the definition of victim, one that is acted on and usually adversely affected by a force or agent. That's the Merriam-Webster definition. One that is acted on and usually adversely affected by a force or agent, which is really deep, because we could talk about like, what if you're the force?
That's my first thought was,
what if you're the force?
You're the force.
Or you're the agent, right?
There's very, very few situations, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that you are not the victimizer in your own story. We love to be the victim because it validates our insecure stories. I don't think we consciously choose that. I think our subconscious loves the idea of being a victim because it makes us feel special, right? And we get to go into that, and we get to build a case, and we get attention, and there's so much like low-level magnetism that comes with being a victim. And I used to be this way. many years ago. Actually, it was not many. I'll be
yesterday.
honest.
So let me tell you about my yesterday. It was really interesting.
No.
Many moons ago. What's today? Thursday? Yeah, Wednesday.
I would say I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, probably more like 5. I was in a relationship where I was a martyr. If you don't know what a martyr is, Google it. Because
I'll look it up.
many women that I coach, and I'm not just picking on women, I just only coach women. So many women that I coach have a very martyr-like mentality. And they are a victim to their circumstances. They are a victim to their own lack of boundaries. And that was me. I was in a relationship, and the person was struggled with alcoholism. And I did not know that I was a living, breathing, extreme martyr. Everything that my partner was doing at that time, I was a victim to. And I lacked realizing that I had a choice at every moment. Every breath I chose to be in that situation. I literally was blind to it until it got so bad that a friend of mine recommended me going to Al-Anon, which if any of you have...
what is that?
Al-Anon, yeah. Al-Anon is the opposite of AA. So if you have a partner, a family member, a child, a friend that is in AA or struggles with addiction, your ass should be in Al-Anon, because it was my saving grace. It woke me up to seeing my contribution to situations like that. It taught me more, and what it realized is that I am fully accountable for all of my actions in showing up in that space. And that has carried me forward into, healthy relationships where these little things come up, where, like, if you think about disagreements, like between you and you're having a bad day, kind of like when we talked about the 4 agreements, like if my reaction is, gosh, he's so mean to me, then, in this self-pity of being a victim, or however that looks, that's being a martyr. And it's like, no, I'm choosing to be in a relationship with you. I'm choosing to have a dog that shits in the crate every motherfucking time we leave the house. And this has been actually kind of cool, because lately you and I have been like at our wits' end with dealing with this. And we both look at each other. We're like, it's cool. It's cool. He's a baby. We got this. We're almost like talking each other through, like, we're not gonna lose it. We're not gonna give him back. We're okay. It's okay. And it's that thing is like realizing that we have a choice. We made a choice. I make a choice for absolutely everything in my life. I am fully accountable for my actions and my choices.
Did you learn all of that through Al-Anon, or was that through other...
That was the beginning.
Realities and experiences?
That was the beginning. That was like when you have that awakening where all of a sudden your eyes are open to a new way of seeing things. Mm-hmm. That's what Al-Anon was for me. And it took a long time. Probably took a good 3 to 6 months to fully digest and humble my ego that everything that I wanted to blame on another person was all mine.
Why do you think that's so hard? Because I spent most of my life as a victim, and it was really easy. And I don't know if looking back, if I was programmed that way, or if it was just socially acceptable, or if it was fun, or if it was endearing to me. But like, I spent a lot of my life there. Why do you think so many people are that way? Because here's why I say that. I want your opinion on this, because like you can read all the books and there's all of the cultural knowledge of what a victim is, right? And you hear about being a victim, and this happened to me and that happened to me, and they did this to me and they did that to me, and it's almost like that's where a majority of people stand, knowing though that is like the place of least amount of power. Yeah. At the least amount of power. Why do you think it is right now in our culture and our society that we have so much of this? Like, there is literally like every single day, their fault. Jesus, we're taking away fucking Peter Pan out of movies and shit. We're canceling Dr. Seuss because he fucking hurt my feelings, and he's this, and this. Like, why do you think it is that most people are in that space?
Well, I am a very spiritual based person, and I think in terms of ego and heart and soul and body, all of these things. And so, in my opinion, our ego loves to identify, like it loves to have an identity that's not of our soul. So when you're thinking about being a victim, it's if I anything that happens to me is a reflection of who my true self is if I allow that to be. So boil that down is that we really don't believe that we're worthy of being what we actually believe we are. Most people are so insecure, and then we lack so much self-love and self-confidence that we are like, we would rather get the validation on a low-level frequency because it's easy than have to fully show up and say, I like all of these things are actually not, they have nothing to do with me. But that requires like full all in on yourself, where you can solo fly and be so good with yourself to where things don't affect you. But most people, there's so much stimulant that coming like from like how you should look, how you should act, how you should be since the moment you were born, that it's like an uphill battle to show up and be like, I'm awesome. Like, that's cool. You like this, you think all this and all this is coming at me. But like, there's very few people in the world that will be unaffected by that coming at them.
It's hard though, because think about when you were a kid. I mean, back to your parents, watching your parents. Mom was sad because of something dad did, or dad was pissed because of something mom did, or dad was mad because of this, or dad was mad because of that. And there's two realities to this, in my opinion, is one where you are reacting based off of an external influence, or you're reacting because it's something that you want to react to, right? Yeah. And I mean, we talked about this before, you know, the turning point for me, and guys, I mean, I speak a lot to the men on this, but this is the same thing with women. Like when I went through my divorce, it was me, the market, when my bankruptcy, my divorce, the whole thing, the market, my business partners, there was always this thing. And I remember like the real tipping point for me in understanding the idea of the victimization or understanding my power and getting my power. Because this is really what, in my opinion, people that the idea, I don't even want to say people, I don't want to generalize and call certain people out, but like this idea of being a victim is that you don't have control. You don't have power. You don't have the ability to carry yourself in a way where you're not affected by something else, where I'm sad because of this. I'm upset because of this. I'm happy because of this. And I remember very, very, very vividly that the first post of mine that went viral was really what I started to understand. It was the first time that I took, and this sounds really basic, but it was so powerful for me. I took the word but out of my conversation. And you and I have talked about this many times, and I talk about this in coaching and the whole thing. What I mean by that is like, in that post, and those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, the very first post of mine that went viral was about me owning my divorce and me owning, you know, holding my ex-wife's baby. And after years of fight and anger and police and this divorce and all of this other insanity, and for the first time I took out the word but, where I said I was an asshole. And most of my life I was like, I was an asshole, but it was because you said this, or I went bankrupt, but it was because the market did this, or I lost because of, or but it was because of, or I was mean, or I was hurt, or I was malicious, but it was because someone did something to me. And for the first time, like, I remember that post just saying, like, I was angry, period. I was a dick, period. I was frustrated, upset, lost, hurt, broken, period. Not, but it was because of the marketplace, or the market crashed and real estate sucked and my ex-wife was a bitch. And she said, she did say all of these things. She did do a lot of crazy things. So did I. And I'll never forget, like, really, truly understanding, like, the weeks after that post, like, having a lot of interaction with people saying, well, yeah, your ex-wife, she did this and she did that and all of these other things. And if you've ever been through a divorce, you know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. If anybody listening to this that has been through relationship trauma or relationship, you know, breakup, whatever, there's always that story. And I'll never forget understanding, like, I chose this. Like, I did this. I created this. It was the sole responsible party for my actions. Now, everything inside of me wanted to fight that.
Yeah.
And I think this is something really interesting that I want to go deeper on with you is understanding that ego mind, that carnal brain, that animalistic reality of defense, of wanting to prove something different, of wanting to say, no. It's something else. When you talk true ownership, when you talk real fucking true ownership of every word that comes out of your mouth, you created that.
Yeah.
Not in response to some fucker who was driving down the freeway who flipped you off and you screamed at him and he screamed at you. You chose that. I chose every word that I said to her. Did she say things that triggered me? Absolutely. But I made the conscious decision to speak those words. I made the conscious decision to do the things that I did, to be the places that I was at, to act or react in any way, shape, or form. Like, I chose that.
Yeah.
And it was really, really, really difficult for me for a while because, like, two things. Number one, my ego wanted to lessen the blow by putting it on somebody else. But what I also came to realize, and this is something I want you to talk about, I realized that as I was going through this divorce, as I played the victim, who was around me? Victims.
Yes.
I had people and friends and family that supported that story, knowing full well I did what I did. And when you think about this for a second, friends, like, imagine for a second a person, think about somebody right now that you know that's a victim, right? Maybe you're friends with them, maybe you're not, maybe you're watching them, I don't know. But look at their surrounding, look at who's around them. When you make up a story and you create this victim reality, like, oh, my ex-wife was so bad, my ex-husband was a dick, my ex-boyfriend, and this, that, and the other, what you naturally will find is people that will support and endorse that. And then that becomes your truth. And in that moment, in that reality, in that experience, you have no fucking power. Zero power of creation. Yeah. Literally everything in your world, you're putting on someone else. And what I came to realize is, like, I gave my ex-wife all the power. She had all of the fucking power. Now, I flexed and I beat my chest and I'm man and I'm an alpha and blah, 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 blah. I was the weakest motherfucker out there. Because the truth is, I gave her all of the power. So whatever I said, whatever I did, it wasn't because I chose it. It was because of this person. Yeah. And so there's a really, really, really interesting, like, journey that we go on in this discovery, for me, for you. We've both talked about this, in true ownership and knowing that, like, well, Sean, how can you say that? I was driving down the street and I got into a car accident. It wasn't my fault. It was their fault. I don't know who ran what stop sign. Did you choose to drive down that street? Yeah. Yep. I put myself in this situation. And it's so hard to wrap your head around that because it's so easy to put the accountability and the blame on someone else or something else or some force of nature or whatever. But when you really strip away all of that shit, like, it is not only the most terrifying thing because you feel like an island. You're like moving from this group and collective of blame, victim. It's always something else or somebody else to, no, I did that. Yeah. I chose this. And on the flip side of that is the most incredible source of power. The incredible source of power. And I have found over the last couple of years, as I have moved more and more and more into that power of ownership, it's fascinating how much it triggers people. It's fascinating how much it triggers people and how much it bothers people when you're like, I did this, I built this, because, well, you couldn't have, or this or that or the other. When you walk into that space, it is the most incredibly liberating, incredibly scary, but incredibly powerful place I believe any human could ever be, is in complete ownership. There is no more victim story. There's no one around me who we hang out with, whatever. We don't hang out with victims. You notice the conversation is different today with you and I, with our friends, with our people. We don't talk about other people. We don't talk about other bullshit. We don't talk about, blaming this or blaming that. It's a completely different reality when you own everything. Yeah.
Well, and I'd like you to talk about this with business, because you have completely owned the course of things that have happened in your business. Right. And I want to talk about this with personal relationships, passion, and intimate, intimacy and dating, especially, is what I found in the marketplace, as we call it, I've used the term many times.
Human nature, society, life, whatever.
Yeah. When, I remember going on dates and I would get this laundry list from the person in front of me about what a victim they were. And it was alarming to me, because once you get outside of that victimization and because when you're in it, it doesn't faze you. It's like, oh my God, that's the trauma bonding we've talked about. Like, yep. Oh my God, me too. Oh my God. And it's this like, we are victims. We are such beautiful people. And all these things have happened to us and they get you nowhere. And then when you rise above that, and that's what we encourage you guys to at least think about while listening to this podcast would be, the takeaway is like, just contemplate where you're making yourself a victim in your life. And when you go back out dating, if you're dating, God bless you, because now you'll really notice this, is you sit down and there's these people, and it's happened to me so much where I would sit there and I'd be like, oh my God, like, you hate your ex-wife. You poor thing have to pay alimony. You poor thing have to pay child support. Dude, you signed up for all of these things. Like, you made babies with a woman that never went to work because she was going to be a mom. Like, hello? You literally signed off on that. You're not a victim, homie. Like, own that shit. Be like, yeah, I've got this ex-wife. I've got some kids. Like it didn't work out, but she's a mom. Like, it's cool. Move on. Make the topic about something else. But like, that is a red flag. If you're doing that, if you stop and you're listening to this and you're like, oh shit, I went on a date last week and that's literally what we talked about. Like, know that you have a red flag waving, and just to have an awareness that like, maybe you need to reframe how you're trying to connect with people. That's not going to get you anywhere other than right back into the victim pool. And there's no real growth there until you have an awareness that you're lacking the accountability for your own decision making, past, present, and into your future. But I want you to talk about business, because the apparel has gone up and down and through whirlwinds just in the last 6 months, 12 months.
Yeah.
And you have been so freaking dynamite about this. Like, all the things that have happened. And I'm sitting here watching this behind the scenes. Like, you're not fronting a different image to the public as you are at home with me when you're in bed and whatever. Like, you're owning this in business.
Okay, so before we get to the business thing, I want to echo what you were saying, or even talk about that further, because I think you and I have had a lot of conversations around this, and this is a huge thing that I'm far from perfect. You're far from perfect. Do I find myself going down the rabbit hole of being a total victim and a bitch some days? Absolutely. But I'm very, very, very well aware of it. One of the things that you said, about dating, I don't know if you're single, if you're married, whatever. Let's just assume you're single for 2 seconds. Like, one of the biggest red flags, I was in a trauma bonded relationship. You were in a trauma bonded relationship. We both know this extremely well. And now looking back on it, hindsight's 20/20. It's one of the best teachers that we can have. I realized that I bonded with a woman over trauma. Like, we were that. Oh my God, your ex did this. Oh my God, my ex did this. Are you serious? We fucking love each other. We're mad. I can't believe you get me. You get me. Oh, you get me so much. We should just make babies. And then 15 minutes later, when you actually have to talk about real world, real life, you're like, oh, fuck. I hate this person. I have trauma. What do I do? It's really, really, really fascinating when you step outside of this and you start to understand it.
Yeah.
And you start to move into a place of power. You almost become repulsed by it. You become repulsed by being with certain people straight up. Like, I'm not going to mince words here. Like, you can't be around fucking people that are victims. It's like nails on a fucking chalkboard. It's the most disgusting, infuriating thing to hear somebody just whine and bitch and blame and blame and blame. And you're like, now imagine you're dating and you're sitting down with someone, fellas, you're sitting down with a woman who's bitching and moaning about her ex, about the baby daddy, about guys being assholes.
He cheated on me.
Are you fucking serious? Like, you want to sit down and have a conversation with a woman around that and then try and build something? Ladies, you're sitting down with a dude who's blaming his ex-wife, blaming the market, blaming this, whatever. Run for the fucking hills. Yeah. That's a little boy.
Yeah.
You're talking to a little fucking boy. Not somebody you want to settle down with, make babies with, and build a fucking kingdom with. But what's really interesting is when you start to truly understand this reality, which is I literally am creating everything. Like I can create this. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting dynamic because it's so foreign. It was extremely foreign and still is foreign to me at times. It's like uncharted territory, owning everything, because it's so easy for me to say, well, case in point, I'll give you an example. Last year with the apparel, I'll talk about the apparel for a second. Yeah. Last year, right, we were scaling the company and growing the company. And we went from the heat transfer machines, the clam press heat transfer machines, and we were cranking and we were going, and the market was friggin' booming, and ads were working, and we were literally going like just day after day after day, like thousands of % growth. It was insane, right? We grew to a point where the COVID thing hit. We had our production team quit, and literally like my daughter, I don't know how many people know this story or not, so just trying to like not spend all the time there. But my daughter and all of her friends worked for us, and they were our production staff. We had 10 of her friends. They would come in every single day. It was great. They were all high school kids. They were doing the production and sending out the packages and the whole thing. One of the kids supposedly got COVID. 9 of the 10 quit, or their parents made them quit. And it fucked us over. It was bad because we literally went from like, no T-shirts to lots of T-shirts, and now no production, and it was this whole thing. Anyways, I ended up stepping back, saying, all right, how do we move past this? What do we do? How do we grow, right? Taking complete ownership of it, create a relationship with somebody, do a deal where we got about 6,000 shirts behind. And this is the story. And I called one of my guys who I knew who had another company, and I said, dude, I need some help. Can you take this on? Can you help me? Whatever. Great. I'll take them. It'll be this much. Great. Awesome. So we literally put these 6,000 T-shirts in a trailer that we had. We drove them up to him, met him. He took them and said, I'll have them back in 5 days. Mm-hmm. I said, great. We slowed all the ads down so that we weren't selling because we had to like regroup and reevaluate and the whole thing. Anyways, about 5 days later, we were down at Lake Powell, and I ended up calling, my warehouse manager and to check in and say, did we get everything back? Are we good? And I'll never forget, he's like, we're fucked. And I said, what do you mean fucked? Like, what kind of fucked? Like, fuck, what are we talking about here? And he's like, dude, we're fucked. He's like, all these shirts are crooked. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what do you mean crooked? And he sent me a couple pictures, and like the logos, the Lions on Sheep logo was like sideways or this, that, or the other. And it was interesting because he was really, really, really worried to have this conversation with me as he's looking at them all. And he and I have talked about this. He's like, dude, I was expecting you to just fly off the fucking rails, right? Because here's 6,000 shirts. We have all these orders. I had emailed my customers saying, hey, this is what's going on. And everybody was super cool about it. And I remember standing there on the dock. We were literally on the dock. We came back in because we got better self-service. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. I'll be back on Monday and we'll solve the problem. And we got back on the boat, and I'm like, you asked me, you're like, how is everything? I was like, well, apparently all of our shirts are fucked. And I'll never forget, it was like you kind of looking at me going, like, where's the explosion? Where's the fucking anger? Where's the rage? Where's this thing? And I'm like, dude, what can I do about it right now? Yeah. I can't do anything about it, number one, right now. Number two, I just got to create a solution for this. And I came home, and I share this with you from a business perspective, because a lot of my life, when the market crashed and I went bankrupt and I lost millions of dollars, I blamed it on the banks. I blamed it on the market. I blamed it on my partner. I blamed it on a sales team. And at the end of the day, I was the CEO. Like, I'm running this ship. And the buck either stops with me or it doesn't. It's either not 92 cents stops with me and 8 cents goes to somebody else, or 50 cents stops with me and 50 cents goes to somebody else. Like, the buck fucking stops with me. Yep. The buck stops with me. And I remember having a conversation with a buddy, and he's like, dude, what are you going to fucking do to that guy? Like, you got to go after him and you got to make right. And I'm like, look, man, like, I made this decision. I made the decision to call him, to ask for his help. It was a business transaction, and it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. I own that 100%. I made the choice to do that deal. I made the choice to send him those shirts. I made the choice to write those checks, and it didn't fucking work out. And I remember, like, last summer, that being a huge turning point for me in business. Like, it's kind of, this is evolution, right? We've been evolving for years, whether it's relationship or business. And it was in that moment, like, and I had a great conversation with the guy that I sent him to, and we still have a great relationship. We still do a lot of business together. And I realized, like, He bit off more than he could chew, but I made the choice to give it to him. And at the end of the day, I learned a lesson. I learned a lesson that I'm fully fucking responsible for this shit.
And that's what I want people to really grab onto, is there's a lesson in all of this.
Right.
Take the lesson and digest it.
Well,
that is the fucking goal of life.
Digest it, but then do something about it. Like going into the relationship conversation, right?
Yeah.
If you're sitting down, if you're listening to this and you know that you're dating and your dates literally have had those red flags there, you have to learn something from that. You have to do something from that, which means what? You have to elevate yourself to not be a fucking victim, because I promise you, if you're a victim, you're going to attract victims. You literally look around a victim and you find more victims.
Right.
You look around somebody who blames everybody and you'll find more people that blame everybody. If your dating life sucks because you keep meeting assholes, perhaps you're an asshole. If you keep meeting shady bitches, perhaps you're a shady bitch. That's just the truth. I hate to break it down like that, but that's the truth. Yeah. Perhaps if your business dealings are constantly falling down and falling apart, perhaps you're just a fucking victim. Yeah. If you're constantly blaming the market and this and my sales team and da-da-da, perhaps you're the fucking problem. Perhaps you're the fucking common denominator and you're the victim. I have constantly learned this lesson over and over and over. And last summer, like, I'm proud of that shit. I really am. Like, I'm really proud that I handled it that way because I learned. And the team, I feel like I've instilled this reality to them and this experience with them and this new way of thinking, and like, we're responsible for all of this. I find myself at times very, very, very inclined to tell a story, to go someplace, especially with you.
That's your gift.
Let's talk about.
It's definitely your gift.
Well, that's not a good gift, babe. That's a bad gift.
To be a brilliant storyteller?
No. I'm not talking about the story.
I'm talking about storytelling.
I'm talking about a trauma story.
Oh, no.
I'm talking about, like, when I find myself in this place, like with you, right? Let's shift gears for a second to our relationship in this. You know, there are things that trigger me that I take accountability for my feelings. Now, I'm going to give you guys an example, and let's talk about relationships for a second on this.
Do it, because that's what we're about.
If you're listening to this and you've been married, it doesn't matter where you are in life, okay? Because chances are you've probably either dated a number of people, maybe you've been married once, maybe you've been married twice, maybe you have polarity, right? You've had good relationships or not so good relationships. Maybe your marriage was shit for 10 years and the last 3 years have been great. I don't know. But the truth is, most people have polarity. Most people have an experience that wasn't good, wasn't pleasurable, wasn't what you wanted. We'll take away good and bad and just say, it wasn't what I wanted. It caused me pain, or caused whatever. Yeah. Like, there are things that you do that bring me in, that literally are experiences that I've had in life, things that you'll say that will bring me back to a negative place or bring me back to a negative space. I want people to understand, like, where I choose to go is 100% on me. Yes. When you say something that brings me back to this person or this experience or this deal, and I go into drama mode, triggered mode, trauma mode, victim mode, I have two choices. Play that card. Or not. Yeah. And it really sounds really simple to people. And I don't give a fuck who you are, where you are. I don't care how deep your shit is. I don't care how big your galoshes are and how big of a pile of shit you were standing in. I don't care how dark your past was. I don't care how traumatic this relationship was, that relationship was. It doesn't matter. What matters is this reality. Right. And that's what I think people want to hold on to is, well, you don't know my story. We talked about this earlier. You don't know how bad my experience was. It doesn't fucking matter, because when I choose to go down that path of victim, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how many t-shirts come back that are fucked up. It doesn't matter whether the ads get turned on or turned off. It doesn't matter whether the sales guys quit or they're fucking crushing it. It doesn't matter whether you're being nice or you're not. Where I go is a choice.
1,000%.
What I do is a choice. What I say is a choice. And I own 100% of that. Yeah. And so as I've navigated this relationship with you and built this relationship with you, you bring a lot of shit up with me. You trigger a lot. Like, there's a lot of experiences that I have with you that have brought me back to memories or to thoughts or whatever. And I have found that in those moments, it's the test. Mm-hmm. And what you talked about earlier, like we go into that space. Now, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. And I want people to really understand that becoming self-aware. We hear all these terms, and a lot of times I hate these fucking terms. Like,
but they're easy for people to
self-love,
identify with where we're going.
When you become aware of yourself and you own that I created this. Yeah. So literally, I'll be looking at you, and I'm like thinking these things, and it's almost like this duality. Like my brain is going, okay, I want to hate her right now. I don't want to not like her. I want to fucking fight. I want to argue. I want to throw the victim card out here, and I want to say you hurt my feelings today. But the truth is, something was just exposed that made me go into this space. Mm-hmm. Where am I? Why am I having this experience? And what do I have to do to fucking change the reality right now, to change the experience that I want right now? Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I think it's a fucking... Did I just go off like on a tangent, or did that make sense?
That made sense. And I love when you go off on tangents. I love what you have to say.
There's
a lot of power. Like, there's so much, like, all of your power comes from being fully accountable.
Right.
And it's kind of a dope thing, too, because when you're like, okay, like, we have all played the victim for so long. And it's addicting, it's a trap. Like, it fulfills this weird way of finding connection and validation for these stories that we've lived with our whole lives. But when you stop, and it's almost like if you haven't read The Untethered Soul, I recommend you do. It's a brilliant book about detaching from, so your ego is this, they call it the noisy roommate or the annoying roommate, which is this like that goes on all the time in your brain. And when you kind of step away and not everything is about you. Like you disassociate from your ego, and you realize that your ego is this noisy roommate that all these things are happening to. And then you're kind of like, oh. And then you more observe. And then when you see these things happen, it's like, I don't even know how to do the analogy other than that, but like you step away and it's almost like you're watching a movie, and you get to then make a choice of like, you have this radical accountability of like, oh, that has nothing to do with me.
A great example.
Wow.
Brilliant point. A great example, and I've used this 1,000 times because it's so simple for people to understand. Road rage. Okay? You're driving down the road, some dude cuts you off, or somebody pulls up next to you, flips you the bird, honks off, fuck you! Okay? We've all had that happen. Everybody listening has had something like that happen. Somebody throws something at your car, says something, cuts you off, fuck you, right?
Yeah.
You are 100% responsible for what happens next.
Yep.
If you choose to flip them back off, tell them to fuck off, throw something back at them, swerve at them, get in front of them, brake check them, all things which I have done in my lifetime, that is 100% on you.
Yeah.
Now let's just, to prove the point, like you end up getting to some fucking fight with a guy. You chose to pull over and get out of your car. Uh-huh. No one made you do that. Yeah. Like, it's a really simple way to think about this. Like, think about this in your relationship. Your woman comes home, your man comes home, and they're just being dicks. They're pissed off, or this or that and the other. That has nothing to do with you. Yeah. Nothing. Like that person driving down the road, it's driving like an asshole. You have no idea where they're going, what they're doing, what's happening in their life. It has nothing to do with you. If they cut you off, it has nothing to do with you. Amen. If they scream at you, it has nothing to do with you. What you choose to do is 100% your choice.
Well, and the victimizer in the story is always, if a person is being a victimizer, that person is always coming from a place of fear or pain. Mm-hmm. And if you can stop and identify that, of like, even like dating, like the guy in front of you, he's literally, and when you when you can step back and see the big picture, not just like what's at face value, you become this like master of like, it's just spectacular how you see the world. When you can step back and being like, this person who is not a bad person, there's major red flags with connection and all these things, and that's, caution. But like, it's not, no one is, I don't think those people are bad. I don't think there's a lot of bad intention with trying to connect on that level. Is that person in front of you is coming from a place of pain and fear, and they so badly don't want to go back and experience fear and pain again that they literally are like telling you how much fear and pain they have and spilling into you to find a source of connection. Mm-hmm. And if you can kind of see that as like, oh, that's what's coming from, that person obviously needs to go do some deep healing mm-hmm. work before they start showing up in a relationship space. Right. Then it honestly then also takes away any resentment you have towards these victimizers, these road rage people, or these, any toxic type of thing that comes into your space. If you can see them as coming from a place of fear and pain and that inner child we talk about, like, we're all just a bunch of humans trying to figure out what the right. fuck we're doing. And it's a really beautiful way of then now viewing the world. And then you can go forward and then you find yourself less in this victim space and less in like being victimized by all these victimizers, when you like just kind of see like, oh, okay, there's a lot of fear happening. There's a lot of pain happening. Like, how am I going to show up with all this coming? Because you can't avoid it unless you're like going to live like an orangutan in the middle of nowhere in isolation. And that's cool. Like, monks do it. That's great. Like, some people do that. But most of us, we are social creatures. These are things that we really need to have an awareness of, because we live in a social environment and we thrive with social interaction. And so finding a way of realizing where we are lacking in accountability, we will then start to attract a better source of community. And the more people do this, the more people really step back and think about this, the whole collective will rise. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm going all like deep and spiritual with this, but it's true. Like, the more of us that stop blaming and victimizing ourselves and we rise above, we are healing as a collective.
You're such a hippie.
And hopefully there's like, and then hopefully our race will survive for the next 100 years.
It's going to be great.
I hope so.
Let's go down the rabbit hole. I want to talk about something. I love the rabbit hole. Let's go down the rabbit hole on this, because you
ready, Gunner?
You just brought something up, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk about like the dynamic of like when you're in a relationship, like where you and I are. Mm-hmm. The moments when you feel sorry for yourself, the moments when you feel like a victim, the moments you feel like, and every single person listening to this knows exactly what I'm talking about. Those moments when that inner child, if you will, you always talk about inner child, like that child, that baby, that kid sitting in the corner pouting.
That never got their needs
met. Never got something, whatever. Like, I go there.
Yeah.
You go there.
Sure.
Every human being listening to this podcast goes there. Mm-hmm. Don't lie and say you don't. You fucking do. Everyone does.
Yeah.
We all go into that space. What I have found really interesting personally, especially with you, and I think this without question comes down to being with a partner that understands, you speak the same language, that you're on the same journey, you're both wanting to evolve, you're both wanting to grow, you're both genuinely wanting to connect. Not just like, yeah, we're fucking great roommates and da-da-da-da, but like, dudes that are beating their chest saying, no, I don't need to work on myself, or chicks that are like, oh, I'm great, I'm fine. But like, when you're with somebody that genuinely wants to expand and grow, what I have found really, really, really interesting is when I go into those places, when I go into that child, right? And I go there frequently. My feelings are hurt. You said something, or something happened, or I just like whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. What's really, really, really incredible is being in that moment and then seeing yourself in that moment and knowing that like I have literally, and I take on 100% accountability for our relationship. I feel like in my mind, I own this. Mm-hmm. This is my relationship, right? I can literally dictate where we go, what we do, what happens. I take all the ownership. Like the ownership reality for me is, maybe it's way deeper or way whatever, but it's fucking weird, but it's really cool, right? I truly feel like I can do anything. Like, I'm in charge of, like, this is my world, this is my planet, y'all are just living in it, and I'm having this cool experience. And now it's become almost like I'm like it's like the Matrix, like the Oracle, whatever you want to call it. But it's fucking fascinating going into that space and literally looking at you and realizing, like, having this conversation saying, I have two choices. Like, I can continue to be this and know what my outcome will be. I know that it will cause contention. I'll feel like shit. I won't be nice. I'm not going to show up the way that I want to show up. I just don't like how I feel. Or I literally become the owner of this reality and move into a space with you where I know what that quote unquote, again, the terms, I hate the terms, the higher self. I know what that king looks like. I know how he shows up. I know what he says. I know what I would do. I had so many experiences like this in my marriage where we would have an argument, we'd have a disagreement, to break this thing down simply. And we would have this disconnect, and I would sit in the corner and it's like pouting. And I would look at my wife across the room and I'd be like, I know that if I go over right now and smack her ass or hug her or kiss her or whatever, I know that it will bridge this gap. It will connect us and it will tear down all of these walls, all of this thought that I have right now of being this victim. And I'd sit there. I'd be like, no, you come to me. No, you do this. No, you said something that hurt my feelings and I need you to come over. Exactly. You're sitting there, look your head up like, no, you, the child, the fucking child sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
I have had such a rad experience with you building a different reality. And I attribute a lot of that to you being able to hold space for me, but me really understanding that, like, I have the ability to manipulate, not in a negative way, but manipulate my own reality to literally move myself from victim mode, from little boy mode, from child mode to king mode in an instant. And it's 100% on me.
Yeah, I love that because it's like, what do you really want? What do you
I've heard that
really
before.
want?
What do you want?
I think Sean Whalen says that in his book.
I bet you I've asked that question more than any other question.
I think that's
ever.
written on my bathroom
Even
mirror.
more, I asked that more than like, do we have cookies or are we bringing me cookies?
It's true though. It's like, what do you really want? Do you want to win or do you want to connect?
Right.
And like we coach a lot of married people, and that's what I found too. Is just like, what do you want? Do you want to be right?
Well, imagine asking yourself,
do you want to be right or do you want to connect?
I ask myself that question 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
And fellas, listen to me. Like, listen to what I'm saying right now. And you can attest to this. You can give me a hallelujah, amen to this for the fellas to listen to. But understand, like, what you just said is dead on accurate. Do I want to win? Which, am I really winning? Is there even a win?
Your ego's the only one keeping score.
But here's the thing. It's not an ego that's actually going to win. You're not going to progress anywhere. It's actually like a step backwards. Or do I want to connect? Because I know I make more money when I'm connected. I know I make more money and I do better business when I'm connected. When I'm trying to win in the ego, well, he fucked up these shirts and you owe me $100,000. I want to win, which means I need to connect to moving forward. I need to connect to doing bigger. There's far more money in front of me than there is behind me. There's far more money and deals and wealth in front of me and in creation than there is behind me chasing guys that owe me money. And there's far more connection with me and you moving this conversation to the next conversation than why you hurt my feelings yesterday, than why I've been acting like a bitch for the last 72 hours, than why you should have bought this or did this. There's far more connection. And fellas, listen to me. You want to make more money? Don't be a freaking bitch. Don't sit there and be like, don't be the little boy. I get it. I've been the little boy so many fucking times in life. So many times in life. And I will tell you that it is it's like a black fucking hole of nothingness. There is no growth. There's no connection. You ain't getting laid. You ain't getting your dick sucked. You ain't making more money acting like that little fucking boy in that hole. You have to literally like look across that room and be like, I am a fucking creator. I am a king. And what I want right now is the connection for me. Yeah, I want to throw my temper tantrum. Yeah, I want you to come over and freaking give me the sob story and the whole thing. But what I want more, what do I want? I want fucking connection. I want connection to my clients. I want connection to my employees. I want connection to my woman. I want connection to my family, because that's where creation happens. That's where wealth is. And I'm not just talking about money. That's where like true wealth of life is. And I know every single person listening to this right now knows exactly what I'm talking about, men and women. We all have that little child, and that little child will tell you, you are right. You're right to be a child right now. They said something that hurt your feelings. Be mad, pout. And you're going to go, fine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like,
an arsenal of evidence that says, see, I am such a victim. It's validated. Here it is. There's my story.
Yep.
And everybody that's on that level will buy into it.
And what you will find in life is that when you want to become a real creator, like when you want to build a real fucking powerful relationship, you have to be that person. And you have to trust that the person that you're with is that person. And that's something that I've never had before in a relationship that I have with you, because I've watched you do it. And you've orated that to me. You've said, hey, I'm having a shitty fucking day. I'm not in a good mood. My little child's kicking and screaming, whatever. I'll hit you back later. And I'm like, cool. And I keep going. I don't take it personally. 4 agreements, I'm not like, well, is it about me? What did I do? What did I say? I'm like, cool, go do your thing, girl. But I know and have confidence that you do that. And the way that I know that is you show the fuck back up as the queen, not as a little girl, but as the queen. And as the king, I've got 2 choices. Sit there in the corner, squabble, bitch, moan, blame. And I promise you, fellas, you will go flat ass broke doing this. You will not have the sex life you want to have. You will not have the connection you want to have when you stay in that space. Or you look at that and go, yep, little kid wants to come out and play right now, but I'm going to beat the fuck out of him. And I'm going to show up like a king.
I want to talk about the bandwidth it takes of when you think about all of that, like picking up all of that nonsense, and you're putting that on in your backpack, and you're carrying that through every single day, through every single moment, and you're trying to take on more, and you're trying to grow, but you have all this heaviness in your backpack of like, of this story of like, woe is me's. Like think about like the heavy hitters of the world, like the most successful people, the best relationship, the relationships you see out there. Like there's a lot of grace and ease in that because they don't have to carry a story. It's like carrying a lie. It takes a lot to lie. It takes a lot of bandwidth to lie, but it takes nothing to tell the truth. The truth is just merely,
it's what it is.
It is what it is. And that's the same thing, and this is totally, I just popped in my head, is having an epic relationship. It's just having an epic relationship. I don't have to have a running checklist of whys. I don't have to have a running checklist of why nots. It just merely is, because I live fully present, fully in the moment. I show the fuck up. I show up in the 4 agreements. I don't have all this, like, I don't need to have an arsenal of ammo to protect myself.
Or to use against.
Right, or use against. It's like you have nothing in your backpack besides truth and presence. Like, that's a powerful existence. And you think about if you have that and you have a partner with that and you run your business like that, like how light is your heart? How light is your conscience? Like how light are you and present are you of a parent when you don't have all of this noise going on in your head about trying to keep up either an image of being a victim or being a victimizer or whatever it may be. It's just like you get to literally live in your true presence. And that's like, you have bandwidth to create anything. You're saying like be the ultimate creator. Like there's nothing weighing you down. You can, and the clarity in that moment, like this is what I aspire to be. I am a human being. I will mess up. And that's what I also love to like also talk about all the time is have grace with yourself. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. So let yourself be a human. Don't punish yourself for, if you've been a victim. I've been a victim. I was like the ugliest victim of all. Like I was a hot mess. But it's like getting to a place where you're like, you have this awareness. Like I've been there and now I have polarity. Now I can show up better. And as I continue on my journey as this human on this voyage that I'm on right now, I can continue to get to a place where I'm unpacking and I'm opening my eyes and I'm connecting deeper and more purely and I can be more present. And that way I can accomplish more in my days on earth.
Amen. You're such a hippie.
I am such a hippie.
You're a hot hippie. You're a hot mess.
I shaved my armpits, though I didn't wear deodorant today because I'm like sweating.
We were literally walking in and she's like, I didn't wear deodorant. Whatever.
Well, it's only because when you're so used to wearing antiperspirant that you don't feel your sweat. And today I was like, I don't stink, but I feel myself sweating out like that.
Anywho.
But anyway.
Anyways, back to the presents. The presents are you're a sweaty mess.
I'm brutally honest, you guys.
I want to share something on this that I want people to take away from this podcast, and I know that us living our life and doing our thing and sharing our stories and our experiences is great and it connects to a lot of people, but I want to share this and when I coach people, I have very specific things that I talk about and the answer to the question of what do you want comes from the person that I'm working with or talking to. But I'm going to assume, and you shouldn't assume, but I'm going to assume that everybody listening to this wants to become better at that, at not being a victim and not having that little child run the game. And you might be fucking amazing. There's probably a lot of people listening to this that are way better at it than me. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I constantly share with people in because how do we do this? Like Saxony, how do we do this? Sean, how do we do this? Like how I do this, or I find this, or I'm in the space, or whatever. I truly believe that whether you're single, whether you're dating, whether you're married, whatever it is, when you can take out the word but, and I wanted to just challenge people to take out the word but. It's so empowering. You know what I mean? It's so empowering to say I was an asshole, period.
Mm-hmm. Just own it.
And you're it's almost like you're sitting there like, but wait, I have some more to say. There's a victim story that needs to come out because I need to explain this.
No,
right?
You don't.
It's so, my challenge to every single person listening to this is to stop saying the word butt. Now say to your woman, you got a nice butt.
Delicious.
What I'm talking about is when you look at yourself and you say, I was just rude as fuck to my wife. Mm-hmm. Period. But it was because she offended me or she said that, no, I was rude as fuck to my wife. Period.
Yeah.
It's an ownership statement. And I promise you, like, as someone who has a massive ego, who has struggled with everything there is to struggle with, who has ADD, ADHD, blah, 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 I struggle with depression. I struggle with a lot of different things. Like, I will tell you that, like, I'm a tough nut to fucking crack. And I have been a massive work and continue to be a massive work in progress and will be till the day I die. But I will tell you that, like, that practice of taking out the word but has literally changed my life. It's changed my life in so many ways. And I can literally directly connect me starting that practice 11 years ago after I got divorced to what happened last summer, to then growing my company and we just passed $4 million of revenue in a 10-month-old company, which I knew nothing about. I can directly connect taking out the word but and truly beginning the practice of ownership. And I struggled for years with it. I can directly connect that to where I am today. And I will tell you that if you are listening to this and you struggle with this victim mentality, if you struggle with being surrounded by victims, if you struggle with what we're talking about, the simple action of not saying the word but and owning what you say, what you do, how you show up, owning that, like, yeah, and this might be big for some people. I work with people where they've been a dick for 10 years, not just on Saturday. But fucking 10 years. For 10 years, I've been an asshole to my wife. For 10 years, I've been a little baby, like, wanting her to fuck me every single night. But I show up like a total douche and being rude and being mean. And I know your buttons to push. And so I push those fucking buttons. Maybe that's you. I don't know. But the truth is, I firmly believe with, like, everything that I can express to you that if you start with that simple action, watch the dominoes that fall.
Yeah.
You know, how do I do this? Because this is a big thing. This is like literally a life-changing experience to go from being a victim, and a lot of people don't even know that they're a victim, to being an owner of who you are and what you are. If you simply take the word but and you don't blame anyone for your bank account, for your actions, for the way your body looks, for the way your relationship is, for how your sex life looks, and you own all of that shit, dude, watch what happens. It's the most liberating experience, but it's also extraordinarily humbling to go down that path and to become an owner of like your fucking self, like pure fucking owner. I own all of it. I own all of this game, dude. It's fucking amazing. There's nothing you can't build. I looked at that like with me and you getting married. Mm-hmm. It was like checking on the boxes. Okay. Cool. I'm going to build this. I'm going to fucking build this. Right. And have a willing participant. Right? You know, and maybe
guys,
you were,
I was
maybe
not
you
forced
weren't.
along the road.
You know what I mean? But like, I looked at it and was like, okay, this chick's on the same freaking vibe as me. She owns her shit. I've seen her own her shit multiple times. She shows back up when she doesn't want to show back up. She understands when she says shit that wasn't necessarily what she wanted to say, but then owns it. That's a game that I can play. Like, that's a game that I can play because I do the same thing. And I'll tell you, it's fucking hard as shit, but man, it is so damn liberating to just say, yeah, I was a dick. Babe. Yeah, I lost money. Yeah, I made the wrong decision. Yeah, I banked on the wrong deal. Yeah, I bought the wrong fucking stock. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I did that. It's fucking empowering. It's so liberating.
Babe, you're so good at saying that. I love that. And not attaching to what's happened either. Like letting things slide. Like not slide.
Don't say slide.
I mean like not slide as in like, you know, like Ryan Stewman, his post the other day is like, what are you holding on to as your stories? Like what are your I ams? What are your identities?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what I mean by letting them slide. Like not everything has to stick. Like not every bad thing you've done has to stick. And I think maybe next week we should talk about forgiveness. Like,
yeah, we talk about it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like the
tub time. We'll do a tub time on it.
The forgiveness, yeah, is like realizing like, yeah, like I was a dick. But I don't have to still be a dick. And I don't have to hang on to the fact that I was a dick. Like, hey, babe, I was an asshole. I love you. Like, just own it. That's so cool. It's
and what's cool is you and I own that. Like,
we do.
Like, sometimes you'll say that to me, like, you're kind of a dick. I was like, yeah, I was a dick. Yep, 100%. But it was because you know, I told you to buy the chocolate chip swig cookie, and you bought the coconut swig cookie.
Because the coconut,
and I really wanted that, and I was in the mood for that. No,
hold on, but now the oatmeal one.
No,
dude,
the chocolate cookie. No, babe, stop.
I think the coconut
chocolate chip or no chip. That's what it is.
They're just so boring. But see, agree to disagree.
Well, I'm right, so whatever. It is a chocolate chip. We'll take a poll, and I bet you I'm right, guys. This is a huge conversation for us, and I pray that people got something out of this. But I will say that I think this is our best conversation so far on the podcast, but I really truly believe like that this is what is holding our culture back, our society back. This is what's holding marriages back from being fucking fire. This is what's holding human beings back from just being like next fucking level producers and creators. This is what's holding your bank account back. This is what's holding your business back. A lot of different things, a lot of different angles, a lot of different conversations we could attribute to, but this single one of being the victim and owning who and what and where and owning everything, in my opinion, is like the ticket to the next level. It's the ticket to not the promised land, because there'll probably be more tickets down the road, but like from where we are right now as a culture, society, with marriages, like own your shit, man. Yeah. And really, really, really fucking own it and watch what happens. Watch what happens.
Can you imagine if politics owned their shit? Oh, we're not going to go down that road. But just chew on that for a moment. Can you imagine?
You know better than that. Don't do that.
Can you imagine?
Babe, don't do that. Don't bring politics in, because this will be a 6-hour fucking podcast. Why would you do that?
Kanye, the show's over.
Jesus Christ. You want to you start chopping politics at the end of a great podcast.
It popped in my head. Like, can you imagine if our own governments would just be like, hey, man, we fucked up. We're dicks.
And you wonder why I get hyped up. You guys wonder. You're seeing this firsthand. Okay? I was in the fucking victim space and empowerment space. She's like, politics. Let's talk about politics. Jesus, babe.
No, that's going to be on the Sean Whalen show without Saxony, because Sean is very fun to watch talk about politics.
Babe, I'm glad that you're not a victim. Thanks for not being a victim. Thanks for showing up.
That's too short.
Yeah, it's too short.
Life's too short. Go have fucking fun.
Guys, if you got some nuggets from this, which I know you did, this was a good fucking conversation. This was good. If you got some nuggets with this, please forward this to somebody that needs to hear this. Yeah. Please go on to iTunes or Google Play or wherever you're listening to this, YouTube watching this. Please leave a comment. Please give us a thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever. And if you didn't like it, that's fine too. Just still go leave us a comment and 5 stars and whatever else. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Babe, you're amazing. Good
You're
job.
amazing. I love
Gunnar
you.
literally just farted right at the end. Did you notice that? He fucking farted right at the end of the show.
That's why I said Gunnar stole the show.
He just literally farted.
He's on a raw food diet. He's the most fucking bougie bitch I know.
Yeah. Anybody in the market for a bougie golden fucking Belgian Malinois? You see what his farts did.
We should have just had a baby. It would have been way easier.
No.
Not really.
No.
But I've contemplated this week.
Baby? No.
Instead of a
We're
Belgian Malinois.
We're done. We're fucking done
We
with
are
this
done.
podcast.
Well,
Guys, we love you. Thanks for tuning in. We're not having any babies. We have a Belgian Malinois. Go get
Cats
yourself
out
a
of
dog. God bless you. We love you. Bye.
Bye.